The grandeur of the press conference hall in the Washington Hilton was evident as journalists and reporters bustled about, preparing their questions and adjusting their equipment. The air was thick with anticipation as everyone awaited the appearance of Karoline Leavitt, a rising political figure known for her candidness and integrity. As the clock struck 10, Karoline stepped onto the stage, her presence commanding the room. She wore a tailored navy suit, her expression composed and resolute. The room fell silent as she approached the podium, a sea of eyes fixated on her. Karoline began her address, speaking passionately about recent policy changes and her vision for the future. The reporters listened intently, their pens poised and cameras rolling. The atmosphere was charged with the importance of the moment. As the speech concluded, the floor opened for questions. Hands shot up, and Karoline pointed to a reporter from a well-known news outlet, Emma Brown. Emma stood up, her face a mix of determination and skepticism. "Ms. Leavitt," she began, "there have been reports suggesting that your campaign has been involved in unethical practices. Can you comment on that?" Karoline's eyes narrowed slightly, a flicker of annoyance crossing her face. She had seen the article earlier that morning, sensationalized and baseless. Taking a deep breath, she locked eyes with Emma. "I'm glad you asked that, Emma," she said, her voice unwavering. "The reports you're referring to are not just inaccurate, they're completely fabricated. This is a prime example of the kind of fake news that undermines the integrity of journalism." A murmur swept through the room. Reporters exchanged glances, some scribbling notes, others checking their phones for the article in question. Emma's face flushed, a mix of shock and defensiveness. "But the sources," she began. But Karoline cut her off. "Real journalism requires fact-checking and accountability," Karoline continued, her tone firm but measured. "Spreading false information not only damages reputations, but also misleads the public. I urge you and your colleagues to uphold the principles of truth and accuracy." The tension in the room was palpable. Cameras zoomed in on Karoline's determined expression, capturing every nuance. The reporters were silent, absorbing the gravity of her words. Emma sat down, her earlier confidence shaken. Karoline took a moment to let her message sink in before moving on to the next question. The press conference continued, but the atmosphere had shifted. The call-out had set the tone, and the reporters knew they were witnessing a pivotal moment. As the session ended, Karoline left the stage, her head held high. She had made her stand, and now the world was watching, waiting to see what would come next. As Karoline exited the stage, the hallways of the Washington Hilton buzzed with a mix of excitement and tension. Reporters were eager to get statements, and chaos ensued as they jostled to reach the backstage area. Karoline's team quickly surrounded her, forming a protective barrier against the oncoming tide of media frenzy. Their faces mirrored a mix of anxiety and determination, knowing that managing the situation was crucial. In a small, dimly lit room backstage, Karoline's closest advisors huddled together. Ben, her campaign manager, was already on his phone, coordinating with the PR team. "We need to get ahead of this," he said, his voice urgent. "Prepare a statement addressing the call-out, emphasizing the importance of journalistic integrity." Karoline sat down, taking a moment to collect her thoughts. She knew the next few hours would be critical in shaping public perception. Meanwhile, Emma Brown, the reporter she had called out, was frantically typing on her laptop, trying to defend her position. The tension between her and Karoline's team was palpable, and every second felt like a high-stakes game of chess. Outside the room, reporters were relentless. Cameras flashed and microphones were thrust forward as journalists clamored for any comment. "Karoline, do you stand by your statement? Emma, will you respond to the allegations?" The barrage of questions was overwhelming, and security struggled to maintain order. Karoline's team worked swiftly, crafting a clear and concise statement. They knew they had to strike a balance between addressing the issue head-on and maintaining Karoline's composed image. The statement was printed out, and Karoline read through it carefully, making sure it aligned with her beliefs and the message she wanted to convey. When she finally stepped out to face the press again, the room fell silent. Karoline's presence commanded attention, and all eyes were on her. She took a deep breath and began, "I want to clarify my earlier remarks. The dissemination of false information not only harms individuals but also erodes the trust between the media and the public. It's crucial for all journalists to uphold the highest standards of accuracy and integrity." Her voice was steady, and her gaze unwavering. The reporters listened intently, some scribbling notes, others capturing the moment on camera. Emma stood at the back, her face a mix of defiance and uncertainty. As Karoline finished her statement, the tension in the room seemed to dissipate slightly. She had made her position clear, and now it was up to the public to decide. She walked away from the podium, knowing that while this was just the beginning, she had taken the first step in addressing a critical issue. Backstage, her team breathed a collective sigh of relief. There was still much work to be done, but for now, they had managed to navigate the immediate fallout. Karoline's resolve and the support of her team would be crucial in the days to come as they continued to tackle the challenges ahead. As Karoline left the press conference hall, her phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. The call-out had ignited a firestorm on social media, with hashtags trending and debates erupting across platforms. Her team gathered around a large table in the conference room, eyes glued to their screens, monitoring the online reaction. Tweets flooded in from every corner of the internet. Some praised Karoline for her courage and commitment to truth, calling her a beacon of integrity in a murky media landscape. Others criticized her for publicly humiliating a reporter, arguing it was a calculated move for attention. The polarized reactions were a testament to the complexity of the situation. Karoline sat down with her team, scrolling through her own social media feeds. She saw messages of support from prominent figures and ordinary citizens alike, but also a barrage of harsh critiques. It was a lot to take in, and the weight of public scrutiny felt heavier than ever. "Look at this," Ben said, pointing to a tweet from a well-known journalist. "They're discussing your call-out on a major news segment tonight. This is going to keep snowballing." Karoline nodded, her mind racing. She knew she had struck a chord, but the full extent of the ripple effect was only just becoming apparent. She felt a mix of empowerment and concern. The truth was important, but so was navigating the backlash. As the day went on, the online debate grew more intense. Influencers, commentators, and public figures weighed in, amplifying the conversation. Karoline's inbox was flooded with interview requests from media outlets wanting to dive deeper into the incident and her stance on fake news. Despite the whirlwind of activity, Karoline took a moment to center herself. She understood that this was a pivotal moment, not just for her, but for the broader conversation about journalistic integrity. She needed to be clear and consistent in her message. By evening, major news networks were featuring the incident in their primetime broadcasts. Clips of the press conference played repeatedly, accompanied by panels of experts dissecting every word and gesture. Karoline watched from her office, absorbing the various perspectives and preparing for her next move. Her team strategized late into the night, crafting responses and planning future engagements. They knew that maintaining control of the narrative was crucial. Karoline drafted a series of posts to share on her social media, emphasizing the importance of truth and the dangers of misinformation. As she hit post on her final message for the night, Karoline felt a surge of resolve. The road ahead was uncertain, but she was ready to face the challenges head-on. Her commitment to integrity and accountability would guide her through the storm, and she hoped to inspire others to join her in the fight for honest journalism. As the dust settled from the initial media frenzy, Karoline's team knew the next challenge would be the network's response. Inside the polished conference room of the network's headquarters, executives convened for an urgent meeting. The large windows offered a sweeping view of the city, but the atmosphere inside was tense and focused. The head of the network, Mr. Reynolds, stood at the front of the room, addressing the gathered executives. "We need to make a decision about our stance on this incident," he began, his tone measured. "The public is watching closely, and our credibility is on the line." Screens around the room displayed clips from the press conference, along with a flood of social media reactions and news coverage. The executives reviewed the footage of Karoline's call-out and the subsequent statement she made. They analyzed the public's response, noting the divided opinions and the intense debate it had sparked. One executive, Linda, spoke up. "We need to consider the impact this has on our reputation. If we stand by Emma Brown, we risk being seen as complicit in spreading false information. But if we distance ourselves, we could face backlash from her supporters and the press." Mr. Reynolds nodded, acknowledging the complexity of the situation. "Our priority must be the integrity of our reporting. We cannot afford to be associated with fake news. However, we also need to handle this delicately to avoid further controversy." As the discussion continued, Emma sat in a nearby office, anxiously awaiting the outcome. She had been following the online discourse and was acutely aware of the stakes. Her career and reputation hung in the balance, and the uncertainty was agonizing. Back in the conference room, the executives weighed their options. They debated the potential repercussions of each decision, considering the long-term effects on the network's image. Finally, Mr. Reynolds spoke again, his voice decisive. "We need to issue a statement. We will support journalistic integrity and emphasize our commitment to accurate reporting. We will also ensure Emma receives appropriate training and oversight moving forward." The executives agreed, and a draft of the statement was quickly prepared. As they finalized the details, Emma was called into the room. Mr. Reynolds addressed her directly. "Emma, we take this matter seriously. We expect all our reporters to adhere to the highest standards of journalism. You will undergo further training to ensure this does not happen again." Emma nodded, a mix of relief and apprehension washing over her. She knew she had a chance to redeem herself, but it would require hard work and dedication. The network's statement was released later that day, and the response was immediate. While some praised the network for taking a strong stand on journalistic integrity, others criticized the perceived leniency towards Emma. The debate raged on, but Karoline felt a sense of accomplishment. She had sparked a crucial conversation about the importance of truth in media, and the journey toward rebuilding trust had begun. Later that evening, Karoline prepared to address the public. She knew this was an opportunity to set the record straight and emphasize the importance of truth in journalism. Her living room, usually a place of relaxation, was now a makeshift studio, with cameras set up and her team bustling around her. Karoline took a deep breath, ready to face the camera with sincerity and determination. As the live broadcast began, the viewers saw Karoline seated against a neutral backdrop, her expression calm yet resolute. She spoke directly to the camera, her voice steady and clear. "Good evening. I want to address the recent events and the importance of integrity in journalism." The call out at the press conference was not meant to demean anyone, but to highlight the critical need for accurate reporting. She continued, explaining the dangers of fake news and its impact on public trust. Her words were carefully chosen, reflecting her genuine concern for the issue at hand. Misinformation erodes the foundation of our democracy. It is essential for journalists to adhere to the highest standards of accuracy and accountability. As Karoline spoke, viewers from around the country tuned in. Some sat in their living rooms, captivated by her message, while others watched on their devices, commenting and sharing the live stream. The response was immediate, with social media lighting up in reaction to her address. The emotions in the room were palpable. Karoline's team watched closely, some nodding in agreement, others holding their breath. They knew the stakes were high, and this was a moment that could define her public image. Karoline finished her statement with a call to action, encouraging both the media and the public to prioritize truth and integrity. "Let us work together to build a society where information is reliable and trustworthy. It starts with each one of us." As the broadcast ended, Karoline's team erupted into a mix of relief and cautious optimism. They knew the message had been powerful, but the true test would be in the public's reaction. Karoline felt a wave of emotion wash over her. She had done her best to address the issue head-on, and now it was in the hands of the viewers. Throughout the night, messages of support and criticism poured in. Some praised her for taking a stand, while others remained skeptical of her motives. Karoline took it all in stride, understanding that change would not come overnight. She was prepared for the long road ahead, committed to her principles and determined to make a difference. The next morning, headlines reflected the mixed reactions, but one thing was clear. Karoline had sparked a crucial conversation about the role of media in society. Her address had resonated with many, and she hoped it would inspire others to demand higher standards of truth and accountability. The journey was far from over, but Karoline was ready to face it with unwavering resolve. After the public address, Karoline returned to her apartment in the bustling city, seeking a moment of respite from the whirlwind of events. The city lights glittered through her window as she sat on her couch, reflecting on the past few days. The supportive messages she received after her speech provided some comfort, but the weight of the situation still lingered heavily on her mind. Her phone buzzed with a call from her mother, who had been following the events closely. "Karoline, I'm so proud of you for standing up for what you believe in," her mother said, her voice filled with warmth and pride. "Remember, you're making a difference, even if it doesn't feel like it right now." Karoline sighed, a small smile forming on her lips. "Thanks, Mom. It's just been overwhelming. I knew it would be tough, but I didn't anticipate the emotional toll it would take." Her mother's words were a soothing balm, reminding her of the support she had from her loved ones. They talked for a while, reminiscing about simpler times and sharing a few laughs. It was a much-needed moment of normalcy amidst the chaos. Later, Karoline reached out to her close friend, Emily, who had always been a source of strength for her. They met at a quiet cafe in the East Village, away from the prying eyes of the media. As they sipped their coffee, Emily listened intently to Karoline's recount of the events and the backlash she had faced. "You did the right thing, Karoline," Emily said firmly. "Standing up for the truth is never easy, but it's necessary. You have the courage to face this head-on, and that's something to be proud of." Karoline appreciated Emily's unwavering support. Their friendship was a beacon of light in these challenging times. They spent hours talking, laughing, and strategizing about the future. Emily's positive outlook helped Karoline regain some of her own. As the days passed, Karoline found solace in small moments of routine. She resumed her morning runs in Central Park, the fresh air and rhythmic pace helping to clear her mind. She also spent time volunteering at a local community center, connecting with people and reminding herself of the impact she could make beyond the media spotlight. In her apartment, Karoline set up a dedicated workspace where she could focus on her initiatives for promoting media integrity. She began collaborating with organizations that shared her vision, participating in webinars, and writing articles on the importance of accurate reporting. Each step was a reaffirmation of her commitment to the cause. Through it all, Karoline remained determined. She knew the road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but the support from her loved ones and her unwavering belief in the importance of truth fueled her resolve. She was ready to face whatever came next, knowing that she was not alone in this journey. Over the following months, Karoline dedicated herself to rebuilding trust with the public and the media. She knew that regaining credibility would require consistent effort and genuine engagement. Her days were filled with meetings, interviews, and public appearances, all aimed at fostering open dialogues about media integrity. Karoline began attending community forums across the country, where she listened to people's concerns and shared her perspective on the importance of accurate reporting. These gatherings, held in town halls and community centers, were intimate and personal. She valued the direct interaction, feeling a renewed sense of purpose with each conversation. One evening, she traveled to a small town in New Hampshire for a community forum. The local library was filled with residents eager to hear her speak. As she stood before them, she felt a mix of nerves and determination. "I'm here to listen and learn," she began, her voice steady. "Your experiences and insights are invaluable in shaping the future of journalism." The audience responded warmly, and the discussion flowed naturally. People shared their frustrations with misinformation and their desire for trustworthy news sources. Karoline listened intently, taking notes and offering her thoughts when appropriate. The exchange was constructive, and by the end of the evening, she felt a strong connection with the community. In addition to these forums, Karoline participated in Truth in Media initiatives, partnering with organizations dedicated to promoting ethical journalism. She attended workshops and panels, where she shared her journey and the lessons she had learned. Her commitment to transparency and accountability resonated with many, and her presence added weight to the initiatives. Karoline also made a concerted effort to engage with the media constructively. She appeared on various news programs, where she discussed the challenges of modern journalism and the steps needed to rebuild public trust. Her interviews were candid and thoughtful, emphasizing the necessity of holding journalists to high standards, while also acknowledging the pressures they faced. Despite the progress, Karoline knew there were still skeptics. She understood that rebuilding trust was a gradual process, and she remained patient and persistent. Her actions spoke louder than words, and over time, more people began to see her genuine commitment to the cause. Her collaboration with other influential figures in journalism further bolstered her efforts. Together, they launched campaigns to raise awareness about the importance of media literacy and fact-checking. They organized public events and online discussions, creating platforms for open dialogue and education. Karoline's relentless dedication began to pay off. Gradually, the public's perception shifted. She received messages of appreciation and support from people who had initially doubted her intentions. The positive feedback was heartening, reinforcing her belief in the power of truth and integrity. Through it all, Karoline remained steadfast in her mission. She had faced numerous challenges, but each step brought her closer to her goal. The journey was far from over, but with determination and the support of those who believed in her, she continued to work tirelessly towards a future where accurate and responsible journalism prevailed. A year after the tumultuous events that had defined her journey, Karoline found herself on a stage at a national media ethics summit in New York City. The grand hall of the Javits Center was filled with journalists, students, and media professionals, all eager to hear her speak. Karoline stood at the podium, taking a moment to absorb the energy in the room. The journey had been long, but it had brought her to this pivotal moment. She began her speech with a heartfelt reflection on the past year. "When I stood before you all last year, I had just called out fake news and faced the whirlwind that followed. It wasn't easy, and there were moments of doubt. But through it all, I've learned the true value of integrity and the power of standing up for what's right." As she spoke, the audience listened intently. Her words resonated deeply with those who had followed her journey. Karoline shared stories of the community forums, the personal connections she had made, and the initiatives she had launched to promote media literacy and accuracy. She emphasized the importance of holding journalists to high standards and fostering a culture of truth and accountability. Karoline's speech was not just a recount of her experiences, but a call to action. We all have a role to play in ensuring the integrity of our media. It's not just about pointing out what's wrong, but about actively working to make things right. I urge each of you to commit to truth, to question sources, and to never settle for anything less than accuracy. The room filled with applause as Karoline concluded her speech. She felt a sense of fulfillment and hope, knowing that her message had reached so many. After the event, she mingled with the attendees, engaging in meaningful conversations and hearing their stories. The connections she made reinforced her belief in the power of community and shared purpose. Karoline's journey had come full circle, but it was far from over. She continued to work tirelessly, collaborating with media organizations, participating in educational programs, and advocating for ethical journalism. The challenges persisted, but her resolve was unwavering. For everyone following her story, Karoline's journey was a testament to the impact one person can make by standing up for the truth. She inspired others to take action, to be vigilant, and to prioritize integrity in their own lives. As she looked toward the future, Karoline knew that the fight for honest journalism was ongoing. She was ready to face it head-on, with the support of those who believed in her mission. For those who want to stay updated on Karoline's journey and join the movement for truth in media, subscribe to her newsletter and follow her on social media. Together, we can make a difference. Subscribe now and be part of the change. Thank you for being here today and for your commitment to a better, more truthful world.